Hello everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play Blades of Avernum. Last episode we completed another scenario. This one about a siege on the town by a bunch of Darkside loyalists. Fortunately we managed to deal with them. Mostly. We should have brought the body of their leader with us, but we couldn't pick it up. Regardless, now it's time for the next scenario by this Ephesos guy. We've got Embers of Rebellion. A simple courier mission gets blown way out of proportion. It seemed so simple at first. You walked into the courier's office in Lorelei and you were handed a package. All they told you was to get it to Fort Galima and not to open it. Not really knowing where it was, you were forced to do some research. You found out that Fort Galima is situated a ways north of Black Crag Fortress in Iris Province. It took a week and a half to get to Iris. Numerous times you looked at the package you were carrying and thought about opening it. It smells rather strongly of vinegar and is etched with strange runes. Fortunately, you were able to keep your curiosity in check, otherwise you'd lose money on the delivery. You arrive in Iris late as dusk begins to fall, and you decide to head for the nearest town to stay the night. The package can wait, after all. After getting lost once and getting directions from a farmer, you find the small town of Hectos. The town is practically silent when you get there, and you head for the noisiest building you can find, the Sunken Cow Inn. You get seated at the bar and strike up a conversation with Carl, the innkeeper. Okay then. Let me just look at our gear. An arrows through bow. You've got nimble gloves. We don't have much in the way of jewelry or the like. You've got a steel pike at least. I wanted bolts for some reason. Okay. The innkeeper here appears to be a confident man, and he calmly watches his patrons while polishing a glass. Satisfied with what he sees, he turns his attention to you. Welcome to the Sunken Cow Inn, the only inn of all of Iris. The name's Carl. How can I get you? What can I get here? Well, we've got plenty of good ale in stock and some good traveling rations. And of course, we've got a nice common room. He pauses for a minute, as if mentally calculating something. 10 coins for a round of ale and 20 for a night's rest. Food's pretty cheap too, so what'll it be? Let me see that food. Yeah, it's not that expensive. Just in case. Why is this inn called the Sunken Cow? Carl grins and pauses to think for a minute. Well, it started when one of the local farmers' cows escaped and walked into the middle of town. The whole thing walked down to the docks and it got into a boat somehow. As you'd expect, the boat started to sink and the cow fell out and drowned. But the weird thing was, the cow's body never surfaced. I think we must have some nasty fish at the bottom of the lake. He keeps rambling on about the lake and you stop listening. You have a hard time believing any of it, really. What can you tell us about the area? Well, Hectos is the only big town. Besides that, it's all farms and forest. But we do have an Empire fort here off to the southwest. The most impressive things we've got here are the waterfalls off to the north, and the Pearl Bridge. Beyond that, the earth is pretty dull. We fish, we mine a bit, and we farm. That's our lives in a nutshell. One more thing. I've heard that there might be some rebels hiding out in the area, but you didn't hear from me, alright? Could you tell us about the Empire fort? We've got a delivery to make. It's called Fort Galima, and it's a pretty impressive piece of stonework. Soldiers there patrol this area as well as the surrounding forest. I've been hearing some rumors about that place, though. Some off-duty soldiers came in here one day talking about some sort of experiment. They didn't really say anything else. Still, for the most part, they keep to themselves, and they don't cause any trouble in town. What's the Pearl Bridge? Well, from what I heard, some crazy mage-turned-architect from Stonehurst decided to set up shop in Hectos a while back. He built an impressive bridge out of blue and white stone across the river up north, and then he died. Seeing your puzzled looks, Carl shrugs. He was a bit of a loon, but he left us all a nice bridge. Anything interesting to say about Hectos? Well, we don't have a lot here. Arakos and Miali have their forge, I've got the inn, and Will runs a training center. And then there's Mitch, who just kind of bums around the lake looking for good places to fish. We usually get off-duty soldiers in here, since we're the town closest to Fort Galima, and we get the odd merchant who gets lost in the forest. Oh yeah, and be nice to my dog Spark. He's around here somewhere. Rebels? You can't be serious. Shh! I can't talk about it. I don't know anything anyway, so shut up before you get me killed. What can you tell us about the area? Okay. Well, we're done then. This middle-aged soldier sits quietly at the bar, sipping a large flagon of something you can smell from 10 feet away. You ask his name, and he grunts something that sounds like, Samuel. Are you off duty? He grimaces at you. What do you think? My commander would hack me in half if he saw me drinking this much. Where are you from? Me? I'm from outside of this middle-of-nowhere province. I got transferred here from the Royal Guard in Stonehurst after my captain decided he didn't like me. And now I sit in Fort Galima and rot. Except when I come down here, of course, then I can drink the pain away. So I take it that you don't like being in the army. He stares at you, unsure whether or not you're serious. I'm just waiting for the day I can waltz out of that fort and tell my commander what I've always wanted to tell him. What do you want to tell him? The air flickers blue when Samuel speaks again. Clearly, he's more than a bit drunk. Very few Empire soldiers would want their commanding officer hearing something like that. The air flickers blue? I'm guessing it's something that would be censored, but flickers blue? I feel like I'm missing something. You make small talk with this man for a while, but once you realize that he has nothing useful to say, you politely excuse yourself from the conversation. The trapdoor is securely locked, and the lock appears to be incredibly complex. Looks like you can't open it. This cheerful-looking dog paces up to you and sniffs your foot. The tag on its collar reads Spark. It barks at you. Pet the dog. Spark jumps up and down happily. Then he walks away, apparently bored. Well, here's a common room. We don't need to sleep tonight. Stepping out of the inn, you can't help but notice how peaceful the town of Hectos seems. Nobody seems to be outside, however, which you find a little strange. Sunken Cow Inn. Huh. A little dark around here, too. Oh, nobody seems to be outside except this person. At the edge of the lake, you find a young man wearing tattered robes and holding a fishing pole. A net lies at his feet, along with a few freshly caught fish. Seems fairly peaceful, and he speaks first. Hey, folks. Try not to scare away the fish, if you'd be so kind. My name's Mitch, and I fish here. He sizes you up for a moment. In fact, I just caught some big trout if you're looking for food. How about those fish? Don't need any, but still. Are you always here? Not always. I kind of wander around the lake so I can fish the best spots. Anyway, town life never really suited me. He reels in the line and casts again. So you don't really have a job? Nope. Not really in the conventional sense. I fish and I sell the fish. But it's not a full-time thing, just enough for me to get by. Some people in the town can't really respect that. Heck, some of them mistake me for a beggar, but I think my way of life works just fine for me. For a second, it looks like he's got a fish, but then he relaxes again and lets his line drift. Makes sense to me. Then you, my friends, are enlightened individuals. Anyway, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to fishing. Good luck in your travels. Are the fish biting? Not much. It's been a slow week, and I'll probably be moving on in a while. But it's a nice day, so I may stick around. The town of Hectos has a small set of docks, probably just used for fishing. Can't imagine what else people would need them for around here. You notice that all the boats are on the small side, probably only big enough for 2 people. Probably meant to basically say, you're not going to use these boats, stop trying. Oh. Alright, probably make that one of the first places we take a look in. All these buildings have windows in them, it seems. Alright, let's start with that building up in the northeast. Right over here. Ironworks. Entering this building, you are immediately hit by a wave of unusually warm air. However, upon looking around the room, you can't tell where it's coming from. After a confused moment, you notice a series of small vents at the base of the wall, leading you to believe that there's a forge under this building, or something similar. This woman appears to have been in a forge recently, or at least that's what you assume from her mildly singed hair. Despite this, she seems relatively calm, as if it happens on a regular basis. Something about her catches your eye, and soon you realize that it's the impressive-looking scars on her arms. They make her look a lot like an adventurer, in fact. I see that you've noticed scars. Got him fighting a drake. Interesting story, really. Anyway, my name's Miali, and my husband Irakos and I run the town forge. What do you sell? Well, I make armor, and my husband makes weapons, she says, nodding to the man seated at the other table. We try to keep our wares practical, so we field-tested a lot of them. By that I mean we send some stuff up to Fort Galima for them to work with. And I see that armor. Not too shabby. In fact, we got... Oh no, we have iron chainmail. Not on you, though. No biggie. Miali finishes explaining the work she's done and exactly how well each piece stands up to attacks. She does a fairly good job of it, too. How'd you get those scars? She smiles and pauses for a moment. Well, it was back when I used to be an adventurer. I never really saw much action, what with this being a fairly quiet part of the continent, but one day somebody found a drake out in the forest. Of course, I wasn't stupid enough to try adventuring alone. I traveled with a few people, including Irakos, and we thought it'd be a fairly quick job to get rid of the drake. What we didn't think about was how fast those things move. Before we turned it into a charred pincushion, it managed to rush us, claw me and 3 others pretty badly, and try to charbroil us. That pretty much ended my adventuring days. Irakos and I called it quits, and we settled down here. We share a house with some farmers up along the edges of the woods. Sounds like it was pretty rough. Yep, it was. Glad to see you can appreciate that. Anyway, that's behind me now. Now I just have to avoid burns from the forge. Anything interesting going on in town? Not much, really. This town is just like that. Well, Mitch is in town, and that means good cheap trout, but that's about it. Where's the forge? Downstairs, she says, pointing toward a trapdoor in the corner of the room. Please don't go down there. Arrakis and I hate it when people disturb our work. First thing you notice about this man is the scorched pair of gloves he's wearing, which suggests that he's been working at the forge recently. The second thing you notice is the beautifully crafted pike he's polishing. Once he notices you, he sets down the polearm. Greetings, adventurers. My name's Irakos, and I sell weapons. That includes this wonderful piece of work, which I just finished. Anything interesting going on in town? Irakos has to stop and think for a moment. Nothing much, honestly. This is a pretty quiet province. The most excitement we get is typically around harvest time. It's peaceful, and I like that about it, though I do kind of miss my old adventuring days. You used to be an adventurer? Yep, he says, grinning broadly. Before Miali and I got married, we traveled with a group of adventurers. We didn't do much, but that was just because very few monsters ever saw our chunk of the mountains as worthwhile. Worst we ever saw was a drake, and that nearly tore us up before we could slay it. Quite the mean-tempered bastard, as I recall. That's how these gloves got so badly scorched, in fact. I miss being able to just wander around and kill stuff. Life was a bit simpler back then. Well, would you like to travel with us? Irakos starts laughing hysterically, and it takes him a while to catch his breath again. You've got to be kidding me! And give this up? I've got a wonderful wife, a steady job, and a peaceful life! Oh, as much as I loved adventuring, I've got too much to lose now. I can't be getting shot and charged at on a regular basis now. Actually, you're not the first to try and get me to take up the sword again. Some crazy soldier was in here a week ago trying to get me up and killing again. Needless to say, I told him off. I told him Miali would hunt me down and drag me back here. What do you have for sale? Of course, various... Ooh, blessed pike. It's pretty impressive, but I'm not going to buy anything. That's all for now, thank you. Trapdoor is locked shut with an expertly crafted lock. Looking at it for a second, you doubt that you could open it. Of course. Alright, let's take a look at these two buildings here. You make small talk with this woman for a while, but once you realize she is... Okay, nothing to say. Okay, these people have nothing to say. Just huts. Public storage. The air in this room seems rather stale, as if the brooms lying up against the room haven't been used in a while. An unimpressive range of gear is strewn about the tables, and most of it looks similarly unused. A bar of lead and a bar of tin. Ooh, the iron arrows would actually be useful. Yoink. Doesn't look like there's anything else here of use. Let's see here. You can tell that this man makes a practice of looking nondescript. It would work were it not for the huge halberd strapped to his back. Beyond that, his only distinguishing feature is an odd-looking leather helmet. Right now, this man is nervously pacing around the room, stopping to look out the window every once in a while. Greetings! My name is Will, and I train people, particularly adventurers. You look nervous. Is something wrong? No, I'm just waiting for news from someone. Not sure whether or not something is going to happen. Nothing important, though. A twig cracks outside, and Will barely stifles a yelp. It's patently obvious that something important is wrong, but he won't tell you. What do you train people in? Mostly I deal with combat training, so I usually have a few soldiers in here trying to improve their skills. But I also deal with hunting a bit, like tracking and such. Nothing else that would interest an adventurer, I imagine. Can you train us? You can! But, well, not that much. Wow, she can't improve anything. Bonnie... Yeah, the things we want to improve, we can't really, so not gonna bother. Has anything interesting happened around here lately? No, nothing at all. It's been really, really quiet, and I can't take much more of it. He starts to pace faster. So you don't like living here, then? No, don't get me wrong, I love it here, really. Really, what's the word? Tranquil, that's it. I just want something to happen. Anything in particular? God, no, of course not! Even if I was, I wouldn't tell you. I barely even know you, so unless you've got something important to tell me, please stop wasting my time. You decide to leave the man alone before he gets jumpy enough to pull out the halberd. Okay, then. Obviously, he knows something. That's just a townsman. Nothing in any of there. Alright, time for the big building in the center. Hector City Hall. Audiences with Mayor Anderson by appointment only. You enter the City Hall of Hectos and are somewhat impressed by the arched roof of the entry hall. Somebody put a lot of work into this building. The room is empty right now, except for pillars, chairs, and a relaxed-looking Empire official. After making small talk with this man for a while, you learn that he's an Empire official sent here to aid the mayor in governing the town. You also learn that he's incredibly boring. You politely excuse yourself from the conversation before you're bored to tears. Okay. Mayor Anderson's office. Opening this door, you're surprised by how dark the room is. You can barely make out the shape of the mayor at a very cluttered-looking desk, which blends in perfectly with the shelves, racks, and piles of paper in the room. Empire bureaucracy, even at its best, tends to generate slightly more paperwork than this, which suggests that the mayor has been incredibly busy. Okay. This aging man wears a traditional mayor's sash and looks as if he'd like nothing better than to run from the room screaming. But then looking at the piles and racks of paper which fill the room, you can't quite blame him. He wearily looks up at you, barely noticing your presence through the haze of paperwork. Even when he greets you, his hand keeps writing. Welcome to Hector's, adventurers. I am the mayor of this town and governor of this province. What brings you into my office? You run this town and the province? He sighs and wearily sets down his pen. Regrettably, yes. Or rather, I do the Empire's paperwork, which amounts to this room of paper and a room downstairs. I coordinate imports, exports, and taxes, and I correspond with the millions of Empire bureaucrats who seem to hate me. I hate this job. The Empire is constantly telling me how to rule this area, and it's even worse since we have Fort Galima nearby. I have 20 years of political experience, and the Empire insists upon treating me like a child. Hell, this place pretty much runs itself. I just have to make it look official for the Empire. You really think the Empire is out to get you? Of course they are! They want this province for purely military purposes, yet just because Fort Galima is here. So, since I don't want to let them have it yet, they try to drive me crazy. He gets himself under control, perhaps realizing how much trouble his words can cause him. Look, just leave me to my paperwork. I'll fight the battle their way, and maybe one day they'll let me run this valley the way it deserves to be run. Why hasn't the Empire just imprisoned you yet? Because I'm useful. I know this area, and my experience keeps things in order. However, they want someone in charge who they can control easier, but until then, they're fine torturing me with paperwork. Of course, if they ever knew exactly how I feel about them, I'd probably be killed in the night. Almost makes me wish Avernum was still a prison. I prefer exile to death. Is running the province difficult? No, not really. I speak with the merchants entering the area, I sort out the odd legal dispute, and I deal with the simple mines running Fort Galima. My one concern is the fact that I've heard some disconcerting rumors lately. Supposedly there's a small cell of rebels operating somewhere in the area, and you can guess how happy I am about that. Another group trying to take my province away. So for the moment it's easy, but if these rumors are true, I'm going to kill myself. Rebels? You're kidding. Why would I kid about something like that? It's a rumor now, but it's only a matter of time until someone moves in to try to make the rumor true. And of course the rumor might actually be true, in which case I hate my life. God, it never ends. One day I'll be free of these idiots who want to steal this land from us. It appears that what Carl told you may be true. Are you okay? You look tired. No, I'm not okay. I'm going to die of paperwork overdoses. And worse yet, the Empire wants me to retire so they can put a young, aspiring, easily manipulated bureaucrat in charge of the province. Simply put, I love this area too much to let the Empire strangle it to death with bureaucracy. So I'm stuck with this job until either the Empire crumbles or they decide to leave me the hell alone. In short, I'm stuck in this office until I die, and even then my struggle will have been in vain. Any quests you need taken care of? Huh! Not unless you can single-handedly remove the Empire from power, or do a lot of paperwork for me. Or even better, you can find these rebels I've heard so much about and get rid of them. Hell, get them and the Empire out, and I'll give you a goddamn medal! Ha ha ha! As long as I run this province, I will keep the peace, so I won't be needing your services. Any advice for traveling in this province? You tell him about the delivery you need to make. He chuckles. Ah, so you're running an errand for those fools in the fort. Here's my advice. Go deliver your box, then get out of this province. Save me a headache and don't cause trouble. I assure you there is nothing here for you unless you can set aside the violent tendencies which seem to plague adventurers. You know, there's somebody outside from the Empire. He wants to talk to you. Mayor Anderson stiffens for a moment, his eyes narrowing. I'm aware of that, and I'm going to deal with him when I feel like it. In fact, tell him this. I'll accept the Empire's help when I'm 6 feet under, and that he can take that message straight to Blackcrag. And if he comes in here, I'll personally shove the message right down his throat. Okay, then. The mayor told us to deliver this message. You repeat what the mayor told you, trying to get the right emphasis on everything. The official just sits there, his face impassive. You see, this is just the kind of thing I'm here to talk with Mayor Anderson about. I'll just wait for him to call me in. He sits back in his chair, a lazy smile on his face. Either he's completely clueless or he knows exactly what he's doing. You're not sure which. Okay. Well, that appears to be everything in the town here. I guess we can walk out. Hectos to the south, which we were just at. The farmers here seem rather friendly, and you chat with them for a while about nothing in particular. You don't learn anything new, but it's quite relaxing. They don't have anything to sell you because the harvests haven't happened quite yet. This road clearly leads up into the mountains, which would take you out of Iris. While you can't be certain what lies along this road, it would certainly be a change of pace. Do you wish to leave? No! We still have more to do in here. Some farmers let their cows out here to graze. Predictably, they moo at you. They don't do anything else, so you leave them alone. Nothing to sell us, nothing to learn. Same thing. Wait, what was that? Oh, the harvests haven't quite happened yet. Blackcrag Fortress, 90 miles south. Fort Galima, 5 miles northeast. Hectos, 2 miles north. Walking towards the edge of the province, you approach a simply immense forest, one which stretches easily to the horizons. If you followed this road, you would eventually reach Blackcrag Fortress and you'd be able to catch a caravan to the coast. After that, the possibilities are endless. No, I'm still exploring Iris. And that is the fortress itself. Let me just take a look in the other direction first. Because I'm curious, and it's what I do. Cows grazing. Harvests haven't happened. Harvests haven't happened. As the sound of rushing water grows louder, you come face to face with the Pearl Bridge, the architectural wonder of Iris Province. You'd expected something more impressive, actually. It's just a bridge. Sure, it's made out of white stone, but it's still just a bridge. Looking around, you see a few merchants camped by the end of the bridge. This is probably a great place for them to set up shop, since this is supposedly the province's big attraction. Pearl Bridge, sculpted by Enchanter Erickson, 824. Oh, look at that. Toadstools. How useful. This man, crouched quietly by the fire, takes a while to acknowledge your presence. When he does, he stands up and extends a scarred hand. He's a little put off when you don't shake it. Greetings, friends. My name's Eli, and I got this caravan. What can I do for you? You can't help but notice the immense broadsword strapped to his belt. What do you know about this area? Not much. I'm rather new here, since I just signed on with this caravan a few weeks ago. I'll tell you what I do know, though. It's peaceful. Not many wolves around, nice people in the towns, and a few great fishing spots. Though I did hear somebody talking about some weird spiders they saw in the woods. Not sure what to make of it, but I don't feel like investigating it myself. I just like my job too much. What about the spiders? Eli scratches his head, pausing for a moment. Let's see here. I think it was that woman who sells herbs who was talking about it. One at the other end of the bridge, in case you didn't know. She didn't say much about them, just that they were there. Eli is still here, staring into the fire. Occasionally, he glances at the trees. Well? What's your story? Eli looks confused for a moment. You mean how I got here? Sure. I had a job on Morrow's Isle for a few years, but I decided to leave after I heard that Zaskiva got blown up. Before I left, the rebels tried to get me to join them in their weird crusade thing. That just made me run faster, and I wound up in Valorum. I took random jobs in Valorum for a few years until I wound up in Hector's on a courier job one day. I found this caravan and joined up because they needed a guard. That's about it, really. How about you? After hesitating for a moment, you spend a while telling tales of your adventures, which Eli finds really entertaining. Where did you get the sword? Eli pats the sword affectionately. Took it off a bandit a few months ago. The idiot tried attacking me when I was within earshot of Chris Sand's guards, on a courier mission from Stormport. Once the guards filled him with arrows, I kicked his teeth in and took his sword. Last I heard, the guy was rotting in a cell in Delos. I'm still amazed the arrows didn't kill him, but it turned out he had some pretty good armor on it at the time. I would have taken that too, but the arrows kind of ruined it. Anyway, it's a good sword. Non-magic, at least as far as I know, but it served me well, and that's all I asked of it. This man is dressed in average-looking street clothes. Well, maybe average for Krizzsand, but not average for this area. Still, he looks fairly comfortable out here, almost relieved. The name's Thomas. What can I do for you? There's something unusual about how he carries himself, but you can't quite put your finger on it. What brings you out here? Thomas shuffles uneasily for a moment, as if unsure what to say. Well, I sell tools. Used to do it in Gale, but business got too fierce for me, and I wound up in Lorelei. Met Jess and Harrison, and wound up out here, still plying the old trade. And I can try to identify your stuff for a price. I'm just glad to get out of the cities, really. Why don't you like the cities? Well... Alright, honestly, I'm not very welcome in the cities right now. I'd really rather not explain why. Alright, you don't have to talk about it. Thank you. I'd like to forget my past. What happened? Why don't you want to talk about it? Thomas starts twitching. Eventually he sighs and looks skyward for a moment. Alright, gods help me, I'll tell you what happened. I used to be addicted to scribane when I lived in Gale. I kicked the habit, but I still had debts to dealers there, so I fled to Lorelei. Well, as it turns out, Lorelei is home to the Thieves Guild, which has strong ties to Gale's dealers. They were going to give me a week to pay up before they killed me, and I just happened to meet Jess and Harrison. He notes the incredulous looks you're giving him. I'm not a coward, I just value my life. I trust that you won't tell anybody about it. You reassure him, but he still looks nervous. See the tools you're selling. Yeah, we got lockpicks and fine lockpicks. We don't really need any more. This man is dressed in unusually rich robes for being this far from Solaria. You note that the robes are dirty and torn in places, as if the man hasn't changed in a while. When he notices that you're looking at him, he quickly brushes his faded green robe off, and as if it will mend the torn threads. When he appears satisfied, he extends a hand in greeting. Welcome! The name's Harrison, and it's a pleasure to meet you. Why are you out here? He smiles amiably for a moment. Well, I'm a grain merchant from Lorelei. I thought I'd be able to get some business in Iris, but the area seems relatively well off. Anyway, I jumped in on this caravan with Thomas and Jess, he says, motioning to the others around the fire. And we've been all the way around Valorum. We happened to meet Eli and Hectos, and he's been kind enough to guard us. Do you really need a guard out here? Oh, I prefer to feel safe out here, and we've had some of our goods disappear lately, and we're not sure why or how. We actually had to run from some nasty bandits when we got north of Blackcrag, and I'd rather not repeat the experience. You can buy some grain. You're not exactly sure why you'd need to buy grain, but Harrison has a lot that he wants to sell. This woman is clad in a rough-looking leather jerkin and carries a leather, vicious-looking paring knife. A rather vicious-looking paring knife. Looks like she's cutting up a piece of leather. She sheathes the knife and sets it aside. Greetings, friends. I'm Jess. What can I do for you? What brings you out here? Well, I deal in leather. I make boots and sandals mostly. Armor's out of my league, regrettably. Anyway, I was working in Lorelei when I ran into Thomas and Harrison, and we came up with the idea of taking our goods on the road. However, our idea of a caravan was basically us and 3 horses. Eventually, we got north of Blackcrag because we thought we'd get some business this far out. Instead, we got bandits. We had to bolt up the road, and we almost got stuck full of arrows south of Fort Galima. But we're here, and we're going to make the most of it. Bandits? How'd you escape? I told you, we ran like hell, occasionally throwing something back at the ones pursuing on horseback. She shakes her head, looking at the fire for a moment. It was not a proud moment for me, nor for any of us, but we're alive. Oh, we can get armor. Oh, drakes and boots, not bad, but I'm not going to buy anything. And I'm going to end this episode here. I may be going in the wrong direction here. And in fact, you know what? I'm actually going to turn back, and we'll go over that bridge later. Next episode, we'll go into Fort Galima itself, which is actually where we're supposed to be. I just wanted to explore a little bit, so sue me. Anyway, that'll be in the next episode. So until then, I'm Chester44, that is Fox, Sheik, Bonnie, and Draco. This has been a Blades of Avernum Let's Play, and I shall see you all next time.